Thanks again, and thank you, Victor, for those very kind words. I have a few slides which will break down the investigation that won me this very special award. But before that, I wanted to say thank you to my family, my friends, and loved ones for their time, patience, and guidance. I also want to give a special shout out to Sitlali, who's listening in from work right now on our headphones. Thank you for your feedback and your graciousness. I love you. Next, I'd like to thank my colleagues at Injustice Watch, especially my editor, Jonah Newman, for believing in me and for believing in this story. I'd also like to thank our newest editor, David Kidwell, who, unbeknownst to him, helped us restructure the story during his hiring interview. So thanks, David. And thank you, Injustice Watch. It's the best job I've ever had, hands down. And finally, I'd like to thank the Park Center for Independent Media. And thank you to the judges, Jeff, Victor, and Patricia, who donated their time to read through dozens of entries. And I'm very humbled by your words today. Okay, onto the story. Ari, could you please bring up the first slide? Thank you. It's not your fault if you've never heard of a U visa before. It's unfortunate that many people haven't. But just to give a quick breakdown of what it is, it's a type of legal status available to victims of qualifying crimes set by Congress who also cooperated with law enforcement in their investigation. In essence, the visa provides a path to citizenship for undocumented crime victims and their families who cooperated with police. And so that's the visa itself. Now, in order to get the visa, in order to get in line to apply for the visa, there's this very specific form that it's called a U visa certification. Now, that you need to have before you get in line. So what is that? It's a piece of paper signed by a law enforcement agency that's investigating the crime, which certifies the application, meaning it's the cops saying, yes, this person was a victim of a qualifying crime and they helped in the investigation of said crime. Now, if a victim does not get this certification from the police, they cannot apply for the actual visa. So this is the ticket to get in line for the visa. Next slide, please. This is when I first came into contact about this story. I had known about U visas, very little about U visas before, but this lawyer, Shelby, who I followed on Twitter, tweeted this out, and she might have like 20 followers or something, and I happened to come across my screen, and she's asking like, are any other attorneys seeing a lot of these denials? What's going on? So I asked, more information, and she explained to me the process, and she showed to me what she was getting. She was getting all of these denials from the police department for these certifications. So again, these are victims who said they were victims of who called the police, who cooperated in the investigation, who reported the crime, who were now getting denied by that same department for the legal status. And now this visa was created for immigrants to come forward and speak to the police, because obviously undocumented immigrants have many concerns about going to the government to report something. So this visa was created to create a safe pathway for them to do so. But as Shelby was saying, we were seeing a lot of these denials in Chicago. Next slide. The story came out a few months later after that, and through public records and requests, I can't tell you how many FOIAs I filed, we were able to piece together what was going on. And what was going on is that the Chicago Police Department had denied more than 800 of these U visa applications over the last 2 years. That was more than New York, that was more than LA, even though those cities have a lot more undocumented immigrants living there. The experts we consulted to look over these denials, which we obtained through public records requests, told us that they were bullshit, told us that they were not in line with the law, told us that the reasons given for these denials were just not right. And we further investigated that the two cops who were signing most of these bad denials that we were looking at had almost been fired from the police department a few years prior because they had killed people while on duty and one off duty. And as well, and one of the cops had also essentially lied in his application to the police department and was recommended for firing, but it actually never happened. So these guys were taken off the street and put on this desk duty job of reviewing these U visa applications, and they were issuing all these denials for immigrant crime victims. Next slide. So after the story ran, we were very lucky and fortunate to show that a lot of the immigrants, some of the immigrants we spoke to who were denied, got their certifications from the Chicago Police Department. The Chicago Police Department said that it's reviewing a bunch of other denials that were potentially bad. I can't say how many of those have actually came through and fixed and have been fixed because I'm working on that right now, but safe to say there's still some that are not fixed. They also instituted new quality controls so that the denials can receive an extra layer of legal review before they're sent out. And the Attorney General's office here in Illinois opened an investigation into the Chicago Police Department's handling of this process. Last slide, please, Ari. And I'll take this last minute I have here to really kind of like highlight that while this is a problem in Chicago, there's a very nasty system in place that only allows 10,000 total of these visas to go out every year. So even if you get that ticket to get in line for the visa, you're still waiting 5, 6, 7 years for the application to go through because we've created this like artificial limit to how many we can issue every year. And obviously USCIS is backlogged to hell. So there's a deeper problem here, a systemic issue, but thankfully through our story, we were able to maybe affect some positive change here on the ground.